You want to go first?
So during this whole discussion, I was kind of like thinking about what you kind of said that we got to focus more on climate impacts versus climate catastrophes, and like how these predictions of all these climate activists are wrong, or are you say are wrong. From what something that I've seen is one of Al Gore's predictions with like sea level rise. We're already starting to see that prediction to come true. Like an example is in like Miami, where the daily tide has risen, even with like the 2 inches of global sea level rise. The tide there has risen to the extent where they've had to redo a popular road system to the tunes of millions of dollars. And I was just kind of wondering like how, if we can expect this to get worse, which most scientists will agree that it will do, maybe over a long span, but it most likely will. How does a fossil, or how would an increase of fossil fuel use contribute to this or affect it?
Sure. So I want to talk about the specific question of the magnitude of the side effects. I'll talk about that in a second, like what's actually true about Miami in particular. But when Al Gore and others make this argument, what I want you to notice most of all is that they're only looking at the side effect. They're not looking at the benefit. So they're saying, well, it's going to cost millions of dollars to fix this road. Well, what does it cost to deprive billions of people of energy in the name of stopping sea level rise so that maybe you won't have to fix this road? I mean, that's a shorter and ruined life for billions of people. So I take people much more seriously if they acknowledge that it would be tragic to lose the benefits of fossil fuels. I would take their claims about that. I would be much more likely to believe their claims about side effects. I mean, I investigate them anyway, but I just want to point out there's something very suspicious when somebody says this costs millions of dollars and they're talking about something that would cost trillions of dollars. But you can't even put it in money. Like, we often quantify things. Oh, Bernie Sanders says, well, my Green New Deal will only cost $16 trillion. Like, but what is that? Like, money, you can't quantify things that way. Like, how much money did the Holocaust cost? Like, how many, you can't quantify it, right? It's just shortened people's lives dramatically in ways that they would never pay any amount of money to happen. And when you're talking about energy and when you're talking about decreasing our ability to produce food, clothing, shelter, clean water, like, that is incalculable destruction. So if it were true that it were causing things in Miami on that scale, I would say that's a fantastic trade-off. That would be like taking an antibiotic that extended your life 30 years and you got an itch, something. It'd be totally worth it. But it's also worth noting another distortion. So what I want to point out is that the catastrophists, they always ignore the benefits and they always exaggerate, if not fabricate, the side effects. So why is there a focus on Miami? And why not other places? And the reason is they're focusing on places that are having more issues with sea level rise. But why are there more issues in Miami than in other places? It's because most of the causes of sea level rise and sea level fall are local. So the weight of the land, building a city on land, that can lead to sea level rise. And in my book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, I have a graph, and what it shows is sea level trends around the world. What you see is sometimes they're falling, sometimes they're staying the same, sometimes they're rising, because the global factor so far has been very small, but local factors are big. So when Al Gore does this, he has, I appreciate you raising it, but he has no excuse, because he should know about the benefits that he wants to deprive billions of people of, and he should know that he's manipulating people by treating Miami as something that was caused by CO2 emissions versus local factors.